What's up, beautiful people? So I'm going to be talking about Mercury in Virgo today because I need a little bit of grounding mentally. So I thought I would give it a shot and channel it through. So I'm going to be breaking this up into 3 different talking points. The first being your communication style, the second being your thought process, and your third being the kind of knowledge that you have access to with this placement. So first, for communication, Mercury's at home in Virgo, but like I mentioned in the Gemini video, because Mercury has 2 different signs that it rules, it is not necessarily in complete total balance because it has 2 complete sides to itself. So even though it's at home here, it's only really showing a certain aspect that Mercury has. So in terms of communicating, people with their Mercury in Virgo are incredibly blunt. They're very factual, very practical, realistic about the things that they say. They're not the kind of person to exaggerate a story. Mercury in Virgo will tell you the exact details as they happened in chronological order, and they won't really exaggerate it, and they'll be real about it. Even if it doesn't put them in a particularly good light, they're not going to lie and fabricate it because they can't really even comprehend that to begin with. Like, they need to communicate with a lot of integrity and honesty. Otherwise, they're just not going to be happy with themselves. So they don't even really know how to lie appropriately, unlike the opposite, Mercury and Gemini, who can construct any kind of story that they want to and make you believe it. You're going to get the full, hard truth, whether you want it or not, from this placement. They don't really curb it to, you know, take into account other people's emotions or other people's anything, really. They're just going to say it. Which can be really admirable, but it can definitely rub people the wrong way, because Mercury and Virgo is someone that's gonna probably give you a lot of advice, again, whether you want it or not. Virgo is kind of the fixer and the helper. So when your Mercury's there, when you talk to other people, you're communicating in a way so that you can kind of push them towards making better decisions, in terms of how you see a better decision, kind of guiding people along a path that you think will be the best thing for them. And usually Virgo does know what's better for you, better than your own self, but just take it with a grain of salt. And if you have this placement, just be aware of the fact that other people are perfectly capable of making decisions on their own, and maybe don't offer advice unless they ask you for it, because some people are going to love this about you, but there's going to be other people that will take it as a way of you being condescending or kind of looking down on them, that you're always kind of trying to help them do better, because that implies that they're not doing good enough to begin with. And that's definitely not where you're coming from. I know that Virgo only wants to help, but the way that they approach it sometimes can be off-putting to other people, and you might not even really know that because people might not tell you that. But just be really careful of that, and try to be more conscientious of what other people are reacting to the things that you're saying, and if it's an appropriate time to say that or not. And if people ask you for it, go for it. They probably are with you because they love that you're always looking out for them and that you have really good advice and guidance on a lot of things. Just don't be pouring it out all of the time, because when you try to fix people, you're implying that they're broken to begin with. And this is advice for like all Virgo placements, but when it happens in Mercury, it's really kind of strictly your communication style. But you're really good at bringing people back down to earth. Like, if someone's all over their head or so confused and they really don't know what to do, Mercury and Virgo is like, look, here's it's laid out, it's simple. And then they usually know how to like take apart something, reframe it, and give it back to you in a way that you can understand better. Like, Mercury in Virgo is kind of like a stomach, right? Like, it can digest and analyze and critique and take apart everything, and then turn it into energy and something usable that you can understand. So they're really, really good at teaching. and getting people to understand information, because they know how to rephrase things and communicate things in a way that's going to be more easily received. So the way that your brain really works, Mercury, Mercury and Virgo people, they, again, very practical, very grounded, very logical. You're going to see everything the way that it is. Your mind doesn't really color things with emotions or memories or your own ego. It's going to, if you saw a blade of grass that was at a 90-degree angle and it was this exact color, you're going to think about it that way. You're going to remember that way, and you're not going to alter your memories very much. You're not going to put your own creative spin on your thought process. You're kind of going to let it be what it is in its raw, natural, unaltered state. So you have a very purified perception of reality that really isn't tainted by anything else. So when you recall history or things that happened or facts or science, you will give it back 100%. And because of this, you're an incredibly reliable archive of your experience of the world. And if people really want to know the real fundamental natural properties of whatever it happens to be that you love to study and research, you're going to be a wonderful tool for that. So just keep that in mind. Academically, you're probably really gifted because you don't misremember things or jumble it all together in your head. Virgo Mercury, the way that their mind works is kind of like you have a little manager up there, and every time a piece of information comes into your brain, instead of letting it mix around and do its own thing and grow and evolve and all these creative functions, when a thought goes into your brain, it immediately goes through kind of like a nucleus or a center piece that's very grounded and rooted, and that part will then sort it and organize it and be like, okay, this thought is going to be filed under food items or recipe ideas or nature. Like, you have a little compartment and box in your head for everything that you observe, and you've probably been doing this since you were very little. It's a very natural form. If you study child psychology, that's how we as humans tend to learn and pick up things like, okay, things with four wheels that use gas, etc. And it kind of compartmentalizes everything, except you can take it to a much more complex form of that self, and keep it in that raw kind of very just brain functioning, like letting all of the electromagnetism and the waves happen without really questioning it or wondering it. You just are very straightforward about the way that you think and the way that you process. It's very well organized, and that's why your memory is also really, really good, and why your advice is authentic, because you can remember all the experiences you had and the decisions that you made and the results of those decisions that you made, and apply it to this person and apply it as kind of like a natural state of being and the natural laws and order of things. Like, you understand that you like everything to be in its right place. So that is really good in and as of itself. But Virgo Mercuries can tend to freak out or panic if, let's say, a file is missing or something gets sorted in the wrong place, right? And you're trying to go over something in your head and something's missing, or you can't find your keys, or you misplace something, or something totally random happens, or plans change. You have a difficult time adapting because you're so structured. So your mind certainly, it grows because your archive of all this data and collection will infinitely gather more information to put inside of itself. But the method in which you're doing that has a really difficult time adapting to circumstances and to your environment. And instead, you try to juxtapose your system of ordering reality onto reality. So, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but when you're doing this in like a work environment or in a housing environment or with a lot of people, you're just gonna have to recognize that you can't dominate the situation with your brain, because it's not always gonna work like that, and a lot of people cannot function the way that you function. It's very unique to you, and it's very clear cut, and a lot of people don't have that skill set, and it could equally freak them out to have that much structure and some other people need freedom when it comes to their mental abilities and stuff like that. So I hope that made sense. That this is the best way I can really describe what I'm feeling and channeling through in terms of your thought process. The kind of knowledge that you have access to, I mean, I think I've already spoken on it a few times, is that really raw, unfiltered data of the universe and why things work the way that they work. You have the ability to see the inner machinations behind everything. Like, you can see a car engine and know that steps A through Z happen to get it through there, where the metal came from, how they manufactured it, how it got put in the car. Like, you can see every single bit, piece, detail of the universe that a lot of people completely miss. You are so observant to the fact where you almost have this entire reality to yourself that, you know, maybe it's kind of like bacteria or, you know, single cell organisms where you can't really see it with the naked eye. Virgo and Mercury has access to that kind of stuff. Like, you can see a lot of those things that just no one else can because they overlook them, but it doesn't mean that they're not there. You have a really innate knowledge of the earth and your body and nutrition and food and health. Definitely you have access to a lot of healing potential, usually through your mind and through archiving of information. Again, because Virgo is a sign of the healer, but when you have Mercury there, it typically comes in the form of data obtainment. Like, you know, all of these herbs have such and such effect when taken such and such of a way, and you can almost have this database. Like, someone doesn't need to use WebMD, they can just ask you and you'll know about it because you care about stuff like that, and you remember almost everything that's had a healing or a positive impact, and you can give advice to people in order to help them about that. So you have a lot of healing knowledge and a lot of detailed knowledge, and you can really piece together and synthesize a lot of things that people don't have the ability to do. So you're an incredibly intelligent person, and Mercury, this is the side of Mercury that is just so precise and precision, where Gemini is kind of all over the place. Virgo is trying to rein it in and control it and archive all of it. And they go back and forth. Gemini goes out and gathers new information, Virgo organizes it. So those are the two sides of Mercury. And I know I'm talking really, really fast. I have been for every one of these Mercury videos because it's Mercury. But I hope that this makes sense. And if you learned something, give me a thumbs up. I will be back. I think what's left is Scorpio, Libra, Sag, and Capricorn. So I'll be back with one of those. People have been hitting me up for sun sign, rising sign combinations, and seem to be really into that. So I might do a couple of those too over the next few weeks. If you have this placement or you know anyone that has this placement, please feel free to share your experience. And if you are interested in any of the work that I do, please check out my website, which will be in the description. Much love.